He borrows his mate's computer to write a blog post, and because he was so annoyed, he wrote an article about how terrible Dell's customer service was. And he wrote a blog post that day. By that afternoon, he had 253 comments from other Dell customers equally as upset at how bad Dell's customer care was. Now, once these comments were going on, other bloggers were blogging about it, journalists were writing about it in the press, but still no response from Dell. At one point, if you Googled Dell on the internet or any of its products, the #1 result that you would find on Google is this website here, Dell Hell. Now, can you imagine if you're in Michael Dell's shoes, how detrimental this would have been to business? Because normally people, first thing they do, ask a friend, second thing they do, Google it. When this is the #1 result on Google and your product's being represented by Dell Hell of all these customers writing in stories about how upset they are, not good for business, right? Anyway, still nothing to be hit. Dell still didn't know about it, still said nothing about it. It was only when the share price dropped, and the share price did actually drop, that's the first time that Dell actually realised they had a problem on their hands. So Michael Dell, CEO, had retired. He reinstated himself in the top job to try and turn the situation around and put out all the fires. He estimates it cost him about $1.5 million to turn it around, which he did so over a period of about 6 months. And there's two things that he did. One was start a blog, which is basically a publishing tool so that employees within the organisation could write articles about what was going on inside Dell. So it really humanised it and showed that Dell was actually not just a faceless corporation. The second thing they did was start a website called IdeaStorm. And what that did is it showed the customers all the different products that Dell was working on, and customers got to thumbs up or thumbs down in a voting system the products they liked and demote the products that they didn't like. And what this did is showed Dell customers that Dell was actually listening and cared what its customers thought. Now, imagine you were in Michael Dell's shoes and somebody came up to you and said, imagine if there was a piece of software that would prevent this whole fiasco from breaking out in the first place. What would you be prepared to pay for it, Michael? If you're in his shoes, have a think about that. He reckons it cost him $1.5 million just to turn the situation around. That doesn't even include all the lost laptop sales from people seeing that Dell Hell website. I reckon he would have been prepared to pay a pretty penny for some software to stop that all happening. And if there's one thing you get out of today's presentation, it's the fact that you can prevent this whole situation happening in your businesses or to yourself by doing one thing. And the good news is it's free and it's super easy. It's setting up a Google alert. So what you need to do, and this is all on the landing page that I've set up and that I'll email you if you've popped your card in the bucket. First thing you do is type your company name up the top here, and then you pop your email address down the bottom. And what that does is sets up your account so that Google will notify you every time your name or your CEO's name or whichever terms you put in here, every time they're mentioned on the internet. So that would be the thing that I urge you all to do as soon as you get back to your computers. Don't let fear of making a mistake stop you getting started in the first place. It's very much like learning to ski or learning to ride a bike. At first, you're going to stumble and make a few mistakes, but the good news is that when you're starting out, there's not going to be many people who see you fall or see you make those mistakes. And it is social. Everybody's very forgiving. If you make a mistake, you own up to it and you move on. And this is an example of a Facebook page. Do we have Peter and Tim Grover? Oh, cool. Okay, so I use this example because I found it on Facebook. I really quite like what they've done here. Again, very family-orientated photo. Makes you, get the sense that they're a good bunch. There's a photo there. If you do want to like them, that's the button that you click. Again, you get all their information and updates in the news feed. It's a really good way of drip-feeding people information, staying top of mind, strengthening those relationships. And there's just a couple of things you do need to know about that. That's called the cover image. And there's a few things that you're not allowed to include on there. And if you do include it, Facebook can actually permanently delete your page. So if you are setting up a Facebook page, you can't include a telephone number, you can't include your web address or an email address, and you can't include any calls to action or anything that could be construed as advertising. So remember that it is designed